All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Limitless MD podcast. I'm your host, Vikram Raya, and I'm really excited today to talk about the number one side hustle of wealthy doctors. All right. So today we're going to talk about income diversification, passive income strategies, and active income strategies. So let's get right into it. What if you could reclaim hours of free time each week, create legacy building wealth, and devote more energy to your passion projects without giving up on your career as a life-saving MD? My name is Vikram Raya, functional cardiologist, high performance coach, and real estate expert. And I'm here to give you the tools, strategies, and solutions you need to transform your life so you can unlock your limitless potential and achieve greatness, all the while freeing up your precious time. Welcome to Limitless MD. Let's dive in. So why did I come up with this topic and where did this come from? Well, as my career as a physician, we are earning income, and people say the medical profession is one of the most stable professions out there. And that is in most cases true, but as was recently proven by the pandemic, even surgical centers, outpatient facilities, surgeons, people who are doing elective procedures dramatically got cut down. I just read a newspaper article that is showing that Medicare cuts are, increasing by 10%, and the amount of bureaucracy is increasing. The amount of requirements on the physician's time outside of clinical care is increasing. Burnout is at an all-time high for physicians. So if this is an issue for you, or if this is something you're concerned about and you want to protect yourself from this, the best way is to create alternative income streams or diversification of your income. There's a statistic out there. There is the average millionaire nowadays has 9 streams of income. So if you're really a physician and you're just depending on your one stream of income, that may not be the most safest strategy. So I suggest, figuring out how to take your earned income, right, your W-2 income, and converting into portfolio or passive income. The goal is eventually, money while you sleep, money while you're sitting down watching TV, money while you're traveling all over the world, right? That's the goal. So income diversification can happen a couple of different ways. You can invest, you can look into side hustles, you can sort of split your time, you can do multiple different medical projects. I have a lot of clients who are doctors and they practice in a certain facility, they do locums in another facility, they're a partner in another facility, and maybe they own like a surgical care center or ambulatory care center, and so they could have ownership or real estate, money coming from that, or procedural income coming from that as well. So that's one way of doing it. You can become, a consultant to pharmaceutical companies, biotech companies. You can work for the FDA. You can do medical malpractice as an expert witness. There's a whole host of things, but I'm really going to talk about real estate as the number one side hustle for wealthy doctors. Real estate has been the most powerful wealth creation vehicle on the planet for the last 5,000 years. It's been tested throughout every single economy, every single economic season, correction. And I suggest that most physicians should have this as part of their portfolio. And it has been the number one thing that has lifted my net worth, my income, my cash flow, and ultimately buying me time and freedom, which I think is what we're all trying to chase and what we're all trying to go after. So I want to give you tangible, actionable advice today on what you guys can do to achieve this. So the first way is passive income, right? What does that mean by passive income? That means you're not actively doing anything. You're investing money and you're getting, these returns passively. And that's great. And, I'm a passive investor in, I think almost 15 or 17 deals. And it's been phenomenal. It's just really created this kind of momentum, emotional and economic, stability in my life. And I really enjoy it. So there's 3 main ways you can do some of the passive income in real estate that I recommend. Number one is sort of a crowdfunding model. This could be, like a company like Fundrise, F-U-N-D, Rise, R-I-S-E, something called Yield Street, Cadre, Crowd Street. So these are all platforms where they vet the sponsors, they vet the deals, they're commercial real estate deals a lot of times, and you're fractionally investing in these deals, so the minimums are lower than typical investments, and you're getting a reasonable return. Maybe it's between 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10% return. And some of these involve a waterfall or equity participation as well. So where when they sell it, some of the profit comes to you based on your pro rata investment. So that's the crowdfunding model. The second model is what we call syndications. And a lot of times these are what we call multifamily syndications. This is what I do with Viking Capital. And so investors say, hey, I'm looking for a strong return, and they can come two different flavors. Some people really want just cash flow. Like they just want really strong cash flow. And imagine getting 10% return on your money without doing anything and getting all the tax benefits of investing in real estate. So you're literally getting most of the benefits of an active investor without doing any of the work. And that comes with trust of the sponsor, sort of vetting and understanding the project. And once you feel comfortable and you're educated, then you should invest. And a lot of times this is restricted to accredited investors. And the definition of a credit investor is a person who earns 200K as an individual, 300K as a couple, or a net worth of $1 million, excluding your primary residence, right? And the SEC, or the Securities and Exchange Commission, is asking someone to sort of be accredited because they want to make sure that the money you're investing is not the only money you have, and you're not putting your whole, lifestyle and your family at risk. So that's why they create that requirement. So syndications are a great way to start building a passive income engine, or sort of a snowball of wealth there. And sometimes there's things called real estate funds, and it's usually a sort of a pool of assets that you're buying instead of just one single asset. And that's the only difference. But the return structure can sometimes be very comparable. So that's great. And then the one advantage of a fund may be that sometimes there's more liquidity. So you invest and you have the ability to take it out, while syndications are relatively fixed. Same thing with some of the crowdfunding. It's relatively fixed for the whole period of the investment, which can be between 3, 4, 5 years usually. So those are the main things. And then the tax benefits really are, there's something called bonus depreciation, which essentially it's a tax strategy where the owners of these assets are allowed to sort of write off, in a rapid way, some of the structures, including the computers, the building, the materials, a lot of the different things in the asset, you're allowed to write it off. And so what happens in the first couple of years of ownership, you get a significant tax break. And so again, another reason why a lot of people love this real estate vehicle. So these are some of the main passive income strategies. Now let's just jump into the active income strategies. Let's say you really want to, buy your own deal and get started. Well, I recommend, I don't recommend wholesaling. I think it's just too time intensive, especially for a physician. I think fixing and flipping, or fixing and holding for long-term rental income, are probably the two best strategies. Fixing and flipping is too transactional, and it's hard to really build wealth or portfolio because you're essentially churning through these deals, and it will take a lot more time. So with that said, I think buying rental properties for short, medium, or long-term holds are the way to go. And I recommend really buying in the Sun Belt. Really, there's a population shift that's happening where people from New York, California, they're all shifting to the Sun Belt. And the Sun Belt is maybe Virginia down to the Floridas, across the Southwest to Texas, and eventually Phoenix. That this whole little sort of smile belt, they call it, or Sun Belt, is where a lot of the population is moving. Right now, 40% of the population is in these states, and in the next decade or so, they're saying it's going to house 60% of the U.S. population in these states. So that's where you want to go, because there's more upside in your rental income, there's more upside in appreciation for your assets. The question really is, how do we go about doing that? Well, if you're going to do single family homes or duplex or quad, I recommend, doing a little bit of research, becoming educated, but working with maybe an investment broker who works with, investors and helps them buy their properties, helps them manage their properties, and creates what I call a turnkey approach. Literally, you get some assessment of everything that's going on, but you're sort of hands off. You pay a little bit of money up front for that service, but you still own it. You get all the benefits. You're still getting all the rental income, but the headache is not there, right? You're not dealing with the 3 T's that everyone complains about with real estate. You may be curious, what are the T's? Like tenants, termites, and toilets, right? No one wants to be that kind of landlord. And so unless you have the time to do all that, you want to really, work with a realtor or a real estate agent that has that kind of experience and sort of can make that whole process seamless for you. And it's very powerful. And, there's something that a lot of physicians try to chase, and that's called rep status, that's real estate professional status. And that's for another, topic or video, but it's really a way for physicians to, if they downsize in their medical career, they can really gain this tax advantage by, the passive losses that you use to write off on real estate can actually offset active income. And that's one of the few ways that you can do that. Again, we'll cover that on another episode. Another way to invest actively is to consider doing multifamily investments, right? And that's really, buying something a little bit larger, like a 10-plex, a 20-plex, and a 100-plex. And then you're like, hey, how am I? I'm just a nephrologist. I'm just a cardiologist. How do I do that? Well, there's something called syndications where you learn to raise capital from yourself and other investors and friends and family and colleagues, and you're able to put this together and buy an asset and bring on a professional team to manage the asset, a property management company. And then, you distribute income to your investors when, over the next several years, and then eventually sell the asset. And because you've taken the energy, time to learn this and put together a team and orchestrate the whole event, the investment event, you get paid, some fees from that as well. And you also share in the profits. So it is obviously more of a commitment, a longer term time horizon. It's also more of education. And obviously there's some level of risk that's increased to doing that. But obviously with more risk is more reward. So it just depends on what you're looking for. I recommend everyone start passively and become masters of passive investments and become savvy passive investors. And then they can move on to the active strategy. So guys, that's the number one side hustle, wealthy doctors. It's investing in passive income real estate. If you're not doing it yet, you got to do it, and, they say the best time to invest in real estate was 10, 20, 30 years ago. The second best time is right now, right? So this is if you know how to do this well, literally you'll build, your wealth, your net worth, your cash flow, and you'll achieve what we've all been chasing, which is also time freedom along with financial freedom. So I recommend you guys to learn more. Go to vikingmultifamily.com and we have a free passive investment course. Just sign up for that and go into much more detail about all of this. And so highly recommend that. It's totally free, and you can get that at vikingmultifamily.com. It's our free 7-day passive investment course. Okay. And I hope you've learned about passive investing. And my challenge for you guys is to get your first $1,000 a month in passive income. That's your first challenge. And I want you to think big, but act small and act now. And with that, guys, we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Limitless MD. If you found value from this episode, I encourage you to share this episode with a friend and let me know by leaving a review. For more information, make sure you check out the links in the show notes below or simply visit vikramraya.com. So until next time, my friends, be phenomenal.